Yeah, no, that's right. Nice. So where's that? I'm getting water for it.
Not too bad, not too bad. Summers are well over half over. That's true.
All right, I think we're ready to go. Right? We're all good. So we are primed. We're on video, and we'll start with the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Very good. Welcome to another summertime edition of the Ithaca City School District Board of Education. And we'll go ahead and get started. And I believe we probably have some modifications to the agenda.
I'd like to add 2 items to the consent agenda under personnel. I'd like to add a supplemental dated today, and believe it or not, supplemental Roman numeral 2 dated today. If we could add both of those to the consent under personnel.
No, number 3. Okay.
No, but I was waiting.
Okay. Yeah, we're always happy to. It is a time of personnel moves and appointments, obviously getting ready for school year, and we're one of the big reasons we're meeting in the summer in August twice, and we will meet later in 2 weeks and continuing to do what we need to do. And without objections, we'll certainly add those. And no one signed up to speak. If anyone wishes to speak, this is the time. Not seeing anyone. So Connor's here though, so glad to hear from Connor.
Picture it. As of today at 12:10, TST BOE Summer School done. The rain came and students said, bye-bye, BOCES. Tomorrow, Regents exams will be taken in the morning. And matchmaker, make me a match. That's right, Fiddler on the Roof, the age-old famous play, will be performed by the young adult theatrical group of Running to Places, of whom majority of members are Ithaca High School students. Those performances will take place at 7 p.m. on both Friday and Saturday, and a matinee at 2 p.m. on Sunday. Graduation. Last 2 meetings I've talked about graduations. One might ask, Connor, how could you still be talking about graduation? Well, August graduation. We've all heard the age-old saying of when you do not succeed, try and try again. We might send it in an email, send it in a text, saying it as an encouraging word, but the students graduating in August have lived it. They've taken advantage of the new programs designed to get students to graduate, such as graduation coaches, summer academy, etc. During the summer months of cookouts and swimming, they've been studying for the Regents exam these past weeks. So I would stress to the community, staff, students, Board of Education, take the August graduation just as seriously as a June graduation, because students have worked hard, if not harder, to graduate. And graduation, especially in the ICSD, is always a monumental celebration of amazing talents. And they will go forth, like I said, holding the distinct title of IHS alum. So that's at 6 p.m. on Thursday the 21st in the Ithaca High School Library. I hope to see you all there. And that is all I have for tonight.
Thanks, Connor. Just before we move on, where is Running to Places putting on Fiddler?
Colt?
Oh, Cole.
Oh, it's Colt. No, thanks. Just wanted. They do move around.
They do, but
it's Colt.
Okay, good. Thanks.
Which is good to see it get news.
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead.
And Connor may have said as well, but the August graduation is at the Ithaca High School Library.
Yes.
Yeah. Good.
I'd just like to comment. Connor mentioned the August graduation. It is a good testament to the students' focus. It's nothing to overlook. And actually, I really like to recognize those students for persevering and pushing forward. I think it's important that he brought it up. And thank you for doing that. You know, as a fellow student, I'm sure they appreciate to hear that, because a lot of times it's viewed in a negative light, if we're all going to be honest. So thank you, Connor. I appreciate you bringing that up. because it's important for all of our students to persevere and push forward.
Anyone else? If not, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
I'll move the consent.
Sent by Chris. Any questions regarding anything that we see, plus personnel, et cetera? Anything? All in favor then? That's going to be everyone. Eldred is absent at this time. So, superintendent's report. And Dr. Brown is not here, obviously, taking a few well-deserved days. But we have Matt Landau, and Chief Elementary Officer for Ithaca City School District, and is the superintendent designee, and gets to talk now.
So, as Chief Elementary Officer, I will be talking about the high school tonight, representing both Dr. Brown and the team. As everyone knows, Jarrett Powers, our current high school principal, accepted the position of superintendent in Union Springs School District. We congratulate him on that. That's a great honor for him. He started at the high school as a student teacher and worked his way up to being a tenured principal. He received tenure just this past spring. He helped lead some really just tremendous improvement efforts at the high school, most specifically with the graduation rates going above 90% this past go around and into August. That all being said, we have pretty much the minute we found out, we have started the search process. The first search process we've started is the one for an interim principal. We feel because of the timing of this, with the school year just around the corner, that finding an interim who will do the job for as long as we need that person to do the job would be the best approach. So we right now are working as a team and working with colleagues across the state to identify people. A lot of people on this list are retired administrators, but people who are interested in doing the position for either the duration of this year or until we find a well-qualified candidate to take over the reins. The other important search is for the full-time principalship. So that search also begins in earnest right now too. The part that begins right now with that is that we set up the structures and timeline. So we get community involvement, input, and feedback on the process, and that we create different ways for people to be involved in this hiring process as well. So our timeline, and this is very rough at this point because this just happened last night, but our timeline is for the community feedback and input part to be happening this fall, specifically in September and October. Dr. Brown has said, both in the press release and with some different local media outlets, that the search will be national. So we will both look locally, we will be looking across the state, and we'll be looking across the country for the next principal of the high school. So that search takes time. And so we, after working with the community and stakeholder groups this fall, that search will go national, state, and local, and we will be getting a talented pool of candidates together to go through the process. We don't have a specific, and Dr. Brown has said this too, if we find the right candidate and they are available to start, let's say hypothetically in January or February, then that's what we'll do. If that person is ready to start in July of next year, that's what we'll do as well. So we want to retain some flexibility in this process. But the main thing is that we want a process that works for the high school, that works for the students and the teachers and staff members of the high school and the community at large, but also that we find the best person for the job. We want to keep the momentum going, and we will. Pretty much this summer has been about momentum, I think, with all the different projects that have been happening, and we're going to go into detail about some of them in just a couple of minutes. But we will not be losing momentum with this either. I think part of that will be now in this process, which we didn't have in previous processes, was we have Jason Trumbull, Chief Secondary Officer, who will be in that position and will be able to both work closely with the search process, work closely with the interim principal, and then work closely with the new principal. That was a structure that was very intentionally put in a few years ago by the board and Dr. Brown, and we feel that will really help greatly with this process. So, so it's on the minds of everyone, and we know that, but we are feeling both proud of Jared's accomplishments and proud of what he was able to do at this with this job opportunity, but also really excited about having another search and keeping the tremendous momentum at the high school going. So that is my superintendent designee announcement for the evening. Thanks.
Thanks, Matt. And so we'll move on to school district business. And as you alluded to, Matt, we're just going to get an update about what's been going on in the district this summer in a variety of different spots across the
Sure. So I asked some people to join us, Lily, Jason, Amanda, and Paul. What we're going to do tonight is we're actually just going to kind of check through all of the different things that are happening in the district this summer, or most of them. Like I said, we have spent a lot of the summer trying to keep momentum going and be successful at that. So what we plan on updating you on tonight is the work that we've been doing with summer school, pre-K through 12. We have been doing curriculum work with teachers at all levels, and we want to update you on that. And then finally, we want to update you on the facilities work that's been happening in the district this summer too. And the facilities work happens, I realized last night around the clock. I was going to the playground at South Hill at about 7 o'clock, and the pavers were still working on the bus loop. And so my son always willingly supervises any sort of construction project that he can find in the area, and so he gladly tried to lend a hand last night. But this work is always happening, and so we wanted to just highlight it. We also wanted to just provide an opportunity for the board to ask questions while we go through this. So this is not a super formal presentation, so just shout them out as we go through. So we're going to start with summer school. And Lily, you were going to just start with updating us with the pre-K summer program.
Great, so I can talk a little bit about pre-K and a little bit about the K through 5 summer school program. So for pre-K, we have 60 pre-kindergarten students. That's through our special class integrated setting program. So half of our students have significant special needs and half of our students do not, and they are through a lottery just for that summer program. Teachers are working hard on helping students attain IEP goals. Some of those children are moving on to kindergarten, and so we're in our last week, so we've seen actually a lot of growth, which is pretty fabulous. We also went on a field trip on Monday, which was wonderful. We went to Teganic, the only good day of weather this week. I totally planned that a few weeks in advance. I knew this was going to happen, so that was good. And we are a 6-week program in pre-K. Shifting to K through 5, AIS, or Academic Intervention Services summer school, and ESOL. Summer school, we had 125 students. 58 of those students were ESOL students. That's a lot more than usual, and that happened because we had one-time grant funding, so we were able to fund a lot more slots through that. We're really focused on ESOL through integrated immersion. So it was heavy on experiences. Students were with native English speakers as well. So that's how that program functioned. We had 7 ESOL teachers, and that actually went all the way up through high school as well. Then through K through 5 AIS, we really looked at students' reading data. We took baseline data and end of summer data, and we saw some good improvement. It was only a 4-week program, but what we wanted to do was help maintain that progress that students had made, and so we saw that for the most part, so that's good. And teachers felt like it was a much more effective way to do things. We never really run summer school that way before, so that was helpful.
And just a quick facilities note about this, pre-K and K to 5 has traditionally been at BJM in the summertime. We shifted to Northeast this summer to enable the facilities team to do a little bit more focused work at BJM, which has not always been able to happen in the past. Jason?
In regards to summer opportunities for our students at the secondary level, we offer really two options. We talk about, we're concluding our third summer of the Summer Academy that's housed here at Ithaca High School. We've got between 75 and 100 children that come down. We're 100% volunteer. Students are identified by teachers, guidance counselors to come down to school. We've got a 5-week program. This is for students that have passed their courses throughout the school year but may not have passed the Regents exam. So as Connor referenced earlier, Regents are coming up. So this is a very targeted approach to helping students gain the content knowledge and skills to get over those final hurdles. And we know from the last 3 years what that's done to our graduation rates. So again, 75 to 100 kids, Monday through Thursday, 9 to 12 down at the high school. And our data shows that we had over 50% free and reduced lunch, so students were able to eat lunch. We didn't have to pay for that. So that was in our reclaiming credit, so to speak, opportunities here locally at the high school. We did offer 2 new credit-bearing courses. Take a look at what summer offerings are. We typically have offered just the reclaiming of credits. We've had a Principles of Engineering course offered to 15 of our students, again, 5-week basis. It's pretty cool to sit in my office and see students each morning come hustling down to school at 8:30 in the morning, and as I see them out on the tennis course and these guys are walking in, they've got all kinds of engineering tools, and they're at that door waiting for their 2 instructors to come down. So that also helps us alleviate the master schedule as the school year goes on. It is a component course, the Project Lead the Way curriculum, which is our engineering curriculums. We see many students go off to schools like RIT, so this provides an opportunity for them to get that done, so to speak, to take their time with it, be in a smaller, more inclusive setting. So we've seen a lot of success with that, and also we're in our 2nd year of the Drive Red program. So 9 students are out doing that work so that they have room in their schedule to take other courses. So we've seen a great alleviation in the master schedule and some new opportunities for students. And again, that's our IHS Summer Academy. The other opportunity that Ithaca High School students as well as LACS students had was our BOCES Regional Summer School that we're very familiar with. And that again was in credit recovery. We had 77 students that are in what we would call the regular ed program, maybe a teacher, a couple of aides in the classroom, and 17 students engaged in the Play-Doh credit recovery. So those 17 students, when we were actively recruiting students in the spring, based on whether or not they were going to pass their courses or pass the Regents exam, as counselors are working with them, identified whether or not students are working part-time, full-time job over the summer. And students that are doing that can't physically get to BOCES campus because they're working are able to take the courses online. And we have some staff there to help monitor that. So those have really been our 2 summer school offerings for primarily grades. I'll work backwards. Focus has been on grade 12, working our way down into the middle school. I had hoped last year to have more middle school numbers. This year we weren't able to achieve that. I'm hoping next year through some extended day money that we might be able to flip what that looks like and possibly build a summer academy in 3 of our middle schools as well.
Go ahead.
For both Lily and Jason, if budget aside, how many more children would benefit from the program? If we weren't worried about budget, how many more children would you take? Who would you think would benefit from it?
That's a good question. Without the data in front of me, I'm not certain. So we really looked at a few factors, primarily reading, right? So where students were reading toward the end of the year. And we also took into account teacher recommendation and principal recommendation, of course. So, we had a bit of a waiting list, but we basically recruited based on that data. So I would say anywhere between 50 to 100 more could have really benefited. Probably that's really rough.
Okay.
I'm looking at Matt for
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's good.
And I think the untapped potential for us is at the middle school level.
Middle school.
So I could easily see 25 at Boyd, 25 at DeWitt, our highest needs children, and possibly 10 at LACS. And I would say that those are pretty conservative numbers as well. So, so as we purchase slots, as we pay our own folks to do it in-house, I feel very confident saying we could help easily 60 more children. Again, more focused at the middle school.
Great. Thank you.
Just a couple questions. Transportation, we transport little people, but the high schoolers we typically don't. What's, just trying to get a judge, where are we regarding?
Yeah, so this year we went after, try to leverage the bus passes through TCAT, and we're able to do that. One of the urgent qualifiers when we were recruiting students, the first question we asked students was, is transportation going to be a barrier? So the high school administration actually hand-delivered many TCAT passes to get kids up to the BOCES campus. I should say that the campus has moved up to BOCES for all of our high school folks. We worked through scenarios of how possibly to leverage our own transportation to make sure our students got there. We've got some numbers to do that, so I think process-wise, we're looking to push into that. I think that goes to Brad's question in terms of how many more students we make sure. And we're certainly talking about students that live in Carolina and Enfield, making sure that they get
Right, and obviously, genesis of my question, BOCES campus is a long way from Enfield, and a long way from Danby, Wilseyville, and everywhere else, yeah, so.
You remember the high school used to house the summer school, and I think people were under the illusion because it was downtown, it was more accessible to folks. I think if you're in Enfield or Carolina, it's
still a long way.
Just as much a barrier here as it is at BOCES. So I think that's an area that we need to be pretty serious about in terms of.
Right, we always looking at barriers to participation, whether it's after school or summer school or really activities. It's it's certainly the distance.
Sure.
The
transportation is one of those topics where I think every one of our offices get together and are working on continuously, and there's a lot of community partners that are stepping up as well to try to help us tackle that. And I think any not-for-profit, anybody that's doing business in Tompkins County knows that this is the #1 challenge that our kids face today, is getting to places.
exactly. The other, you said you had 9 Ford drivers. Is that?
I believe it was 9.
Yeah, I mean it's back in the day. There used to be a ton of kids who took driver's ed in the summer. Is 9, we have 1 car and that's about what we do, or is there a demand to expand it, or?
I don't believe that there was a wait list. I think we were able to work with 9 students. We can offer additional sections of it if the demand goes up. It's still a relatively new thing. So yeah, I can see us getting larger there for sure.
Okay. Yeah, everybody used to take it, so. And you took it in the summer to open up schedules for the rest of the year. But
So
anyway.
we had a 10-year plus gap.
Oh yeah.
Offering it.
Oh right. It's nice that we're offering it again. That's because all those teenagers down the road scares me. But, other question.
Did we try?
Connor.
Whoops.
Connor, go ahead, and then Jude.
Yeah.
Are any middle school kids being sent to TST regional and summer school?
I think we had 4 recommended for Spanish, and there were no takers. So, Connor, it's a great question. So in some of our shifting numbers to purchase slots, again, I think our philosophy has been to make sure that we've got enough slots to have folks graduate within a 5-year or 4-year window. So that's why I intentionally work back from senior, junior, all the way through. Again, I don't want to paint a picture that we're going to skip over our middle school students, because I think there are opportunities there for high school preparedness that may, as we're trying to remedy some pieces late in the game, I think we could do more on an intervention basis to see students be successful in high school.
Jude next.
I would second that. But was any child or student turned away for lack of transportation?
I don't believe so.
Not a question of being turned away, it's a question of being able to be there, I think, probably. Is more the issue. Anything else?
Well, I think we're going to shift.
Just
Oh, yeah,
a quick addition to the academic side. Susan Eschbach, principal of Beverly J. Martin, wrote a grant this summer and was awarded it to send 30 students and 5 teachers to the National Math Foundation week-long activity up at Ithaca College a few weeks ago. And so that was a highly successful week for all parties, and so the students especially have come back really inspired. It was a math and movement week-long workshop, and so they are going to be leading the other 300 or so students in their weekly morning meetings that they have school-wide, and a lot of the stuff that they learned. So, and that's just one example of some of the other things that is happening at schools that principals and teachers are trying to facilitate.
So Matt, before you jump on there,
Yeah.
I stopped by to check out part of that because it was on my campus and I figured I should do so. There was some conversation about whether or not we were able to put some stencils down at BJM to use the math and movement stencils. Did anyone contact you about that, Paul, by any chance? Because at some point, you know, the part of the idea is to use the playground as well, and so there was conversations about that. But I directed folks to come have that conversation with you before we started slapping paint down on the ground. So you may want to follow up with that if you haven't. And I'll make sure folks follow up with you as well. But I wanted to.
So we were going to switch gears again to another momentum builder to curriculum development work this summer. We had a few weeks ago middle school teachers met for a few days, and Jason was going to talk about that.
Yeah, I'll begin this part by saying that Matt has been hiding a rock star in Liddy Coyle. Liddy Coyle, my apologies.
I'm also a rock star.
I served that one up for you. We had what I'll call is a 2-day summit on Common Core alignment along the lines of ELA and mathematics for all 3 of our middle schools. And I call it a summit because we've had teams from LACS, Boynton, and the high school come together and really work and try to be more interdisciplinary. And the focus was vertical integration of the curriculum. In essence, what we were asking folks was, what is it that students really need to know exiting 6th grade, exiting 7th grade, exiting 8th grade? And ultimately, we're trying to lay the foundation for conversations from 5th to 6th, 8th to 9th, and to bridge those gaps and those transitions, not only from a K to 12 perspective, but between buildings. There's an awful lot of great things happening between those 3 buildings, and try to create opportunities for them to come together and share those things, and making sure that we're Common Core aligned, and that so when we give the true assessments, we're getting accurate information back to our teachers, so we're informed on our Wednesday PLCs. Liddy's going to directly support our Wednesday PLCs, much in a master educator instructional coach model, which we're very excited about. Again, I think I've reported in the past, back when I was at Boynton, started pulling our staff together to be a little less informal. Now we really start to see some of the fruits of that labor of folks coming together to collaborate. Some of the innovations that we see at LACS in terms of true engagement and cooperation, we start to see move out to our other middle schools. So I think the vertical alignment has been a really healthy thing. It's given us a platform for the 3 schools to share. And again, allow for larger conversations. At the high school, they did an awful lot of work this year, and also in Common Core alignment with their ELA, their math, and getting ready for new science standards. Talked to Mr. Powers a little bit this morning about some of the work that many of the folks in terms of the new AP offerings of AP psychology, folks offering world history and physics, going off to AP academies and learning a bit more about how to make those offerings of true fidelity. So 6 to 12, an awful lot of work going on, and I'm really pretty excited about the work that's happening, not only at the high school, but between those 3 schools that we haven't seen in the past. So again, starting to lay that foundation for those larger, broader conversations, which will inform much things like summer school and those pieces. So it's been really pretty neat.
And we're just providing quick overviews tonight. We've started to tentatively map out some ideas for future board meetings, and some of the secondary curriculum work are things that we want to get more in depth with a little bit later in the school year. Today was the kickoff of the elementary curriculum work. And I also just wanted to invite board members, I forgot to do this in an email, that continues tomorrow and Thursday, 8:30 to 2:30 in the chorus room of CULP, if anyone wants to pop in at any time to see the work going on. But Lily was going to give a quick update on that.
We actually have one of our fabulous teacher participants and curriculum writers here in Ryan. So we had an exciting day, a lot of thinking and grappling. So we're using this idea of backward design, so really thinking about what we want students to know and understand and to be able to do. And we presented in the spring and talked a little bit about establishing what it is that we want students to know. Now we're moving on to that second stage where we're figuring out what counts as evidence of that understanding. So what kinds of performance tasks, what types of assessments, what types of informal checks for understanding will really help us understand as teachers whether kids get the stuff we've mapped out. And then after that stage, we move on to designing really engaging, meaty learning activities so students can get to that understanding as well. So we've got about 30 teachers who are joining us this week. There are more that are going to work a little bit later in the summer. So some of our pre-K teachers, some of our third grade teachers are going to be working a little bit later in the summer, and Lydia and I will be working with them as well. And then throughout the year, they're going to be piloting this curriculum work, this really interdisciplinary, backwards mapped work.
And one other thing in terms of curriculum development, Jason and I have been working with principals. One of the things we've been trying to kind of assess with, at least on paper, and for sure in reality, a lot of the PD budget was reduced for this upcoming year. But one of the things that we still have are late Wednesdays, both faculty meetings and PLCs. And so we've been working with principals, both in some optional meetings and some mandatory meetings, and trying to facilitate, how do you facilitate better faculty time, how do you help facilitate better PLC time, and we've had some really rich discussions around that. The administrative team gathers to further that work August 19th, 20th, and 21st for a leadership retreat, which we will be having, we'll be retreating over to Culp as well, so we're not going off into the wilderness or anything, but that work keeps getting advanced, and we keep that focus and momentum going. One thing that, even though this is a large summer project as well, and there were some changes with this, so we wanted to update the board on where we were with pre-K admissions. We had to reduce several classes, so we went, for this upcoming school year, we have 11 pre-K classes. And that's 4 less than we had the previous year. So the policy committee, and it was a policy passed by the board, put in place a new admissions policy for pre-K. So we wanted to just, it's going to be a little bit more than what's on this slide, but we wanted to highlight that we were able to accept all applicants that were within 150% of the poverty level, and it goes beyond that.
So we were able to accept almost all students up to 225% of the poverty. So it's about 85% of those students within that income band, if you will, between 185% and 225% of the poverty line. As we're receiving confirmations now, we've just sent out another round of letters because we did our lottery. That number is increasing because some families have moved, or they say, we're all set, we found something else, or whatever. So we were able to accept overall, let's see, we had about 250-ish applications for 4-year-olds, and we were able to accept a little bit more than half of those.
Using the policy, though, using the new admissions policy that was passed a few months ago. And something else I wanted to just take a second, a misconception that's out there. So we had to reduce the number of classes, which means some of our schools no longer have a pre-K class. Northeast, and this is, this could change for future years, but Northeast does not have a pre-K class this year. Cuba Heights does not have a pre-K class. All of our other buildings do have at least one. That being said, if you're a student that meets the qualifications and you're in the Cuba Heights zone, you are amongst that accepted slot. You have a slot in a pre-K. If you're same with Northeast. And you will have transportation. So this was an amazingly complex puzzle that Lily and the pre-K staff have worked on figuring out, and Jim Ellis and his staff have also kind of picked up and ran with. So we tried to at least make some things like, figure out where they live and find a school that isn't completely across on the other side of the school district, but we feel really pleased that we were able to not have to focus on schools. We were just able to focus on what your qualifications were for the program, and we will transport you to one of those open slots. So that work is still ongoing, but we knew this was a large discussion last spring, and we wanted to update you and also say that we're exceeding the expectations that we had in terms of how many students we were able to enroll. So we feel pleased about that. I mean, it's difficult, and no one wanted to reduce pre-K, but we feel good about the number of students we've been able to accept.
Which schools have more than one?
Enfield, Caroline. Caroline has one of the SKIS classes, one of the special class integrated settings. BJM has 3, but 2 of those classes are special class classes, so those have 12 students, and 6 of which are students with significant needs, and 6 are regular education students. South Hill has 2, but those are 2 SKIS classes. We kept those there because those 2 classes have been there for a while, and they're part of the school community. They kind of draw students from the entire school district, really. And I'm missing, maybe those are the ones with one. Yeah, that's it. And then last was just summer projects. I know the facility committee met last night and discussed this in depth, but we wanted to take an opportunity beyond my South Hill bus loop reconnaissance I did last night about the other projects that are happening in the district.
This is great. Thank you so much for letting us sort of give an update, and Paul Alexander and I are here to do that. So often I think the summer projects go overlooked because you just walk in September and things are bright and they're painted and they're ready to go, and I don't think we realize how busy our buildings and our grounds and our maintenance are working right now throughout the summer. This is, if you imagine trying to get all of our individualized campuses really ready to go in a short amount of time, from when students walk out the end of June to when they walk in, and a lot of them are actually coming back for athletics in some buildings, or COLP is being used for theater programs. I mean, this is the tightest window to turn things around. Many of you also will remember probably turning that little lever in the voting booth around capital project, usually proposition 2 or 3, depending on how many things we have, of saying we actually approve for you to be able to utilize some of this reserve money that we put aside to purchase buses and to do some of the projects that we're going to outline. Some of this we're actually using some of the bond money still from the 2007 bond to finish up the projects that we knew were going to take many years to be able to accomplish. And then finally, there are just some everyday kind of maintenance things that we do that are out of the general fund, and those are all planned for and budgeted for. So Paul's going to give a nice kind of brief overview of some of the things that are happening throughout the district.
We'll start with the bigger projects, and when I say bigger projects, they're all important, but these ones are ones that, as Amanda alluded to, would be considered as either capital reserve projects or just or bond type of work. I'll start with the high school gym floor, which, if everyone remembers, we're replacing because we had some drainage issues at one point in time with some cleanouts from the roof leaders that caused warping of that floor that's in there. We believe we've come to a resolution on that drainage issue. I know we're taking steps to make sure that doesn't ever happen again. And they're still in the process of leveling the floor, because in addition to making sure we put a new floor down, the old floor was kind of off. Let's just say from one corner to the other there was almost 3-inch difference, and that could be attributed to being on a swamp. It could be attributed to being 54 years old, but at the same time we're taking advantage of that opportunity to put a new floor, a flex type of gym floor, which definitely is a much more playable floor than the old one. So that work continues. That'll continue into the beginning of the school year due to some delays, but at the same time, the contractors doing the job have been great. In addition, the tennis courts were refinished and totally repainted. That work was done a week ahead of schedule, and they had a date of April 15th to complete because of tennis practice starting in, or August, I mean, yeah, April. They took them from April to now.
You're used to projects being delayed.
Yeah, I am. I think back to the bond. But anyway, August 18th it was the start of the tennis practice season, and they're well ahead of schedule and they're done. So that was a welcome thing. If anybody saw them prior to, it wasn't exactly, as they would say, a level playing surface at all. And then, as Matt had said, due to his son's supervision, they're actually wrapping that up this week. It's only been a couple weeks, and again, the contractor has been great, done an excellent job. And those of you who have traveled that bus loop prior to, definitely, there was no question that was our highest priority when it came to paving in the district. So we're happy that that'll be wrapping up. Should be the end of this week. That'll be done. We were able to do some additional work with the sidewalk entrance due to some runoff that would occur, coming down the hill. And when we met with the architect, and they've helped out one of the neighbors there. In addition, transportation. There's lift repair, that's ongoing. That'll be going on for a little bit more, but it won't interfere with the day-to-day operations. And it was much needed repairs to the lifts out there. And then we are still working on Marcos Flats. The contractor had to come back because if you remember, they seeded it at the end of, I think it was actually the beginning of November. And we're hoping for a good winter. And unfortunately, their hopes were dashed because, as you all know, we didn't exactly have the greatest of winters. But the seeding, they're reseeding it due to that. They're also repairing some drainage issues and some leveling of the field down there to make it a much more playable surface. In addition, putting down the appropriate type of, there is a walking path through there, and that walking path is made up of limestone dust, not the stone that was originally put down. They've removed that and improved it. And then additionally, the city has replaced the sidewalk on either side there, and there's still some work to be done between the street and the sidewalk and the field to level that area out as well. At Boynton, this is an in-house. When I say in-house, our facility staff did the work there. We had some in-stock flooring that was intended use was the fitness center over there. We were able to take the small gym at Boynton and replace. So it was quite a mismatch of carpeting and other attempts in the past. To make that usable, and we were able to remove that and lay down the new type of flooring, which is identical to what's in the fitness center. So it's a much better facility for our students, and in particular our athletes to use during their practices and during the sports season. BJM, and again, as Matt alluded to, it was a great opportunity for us this year to be able, with summer school being moved and relocated, for us, we have not been in that building, I believe, for 6 years. And for facilities to have to let the painting go and some of the other more aesthetic and then also well-needed improvements, it's been difficult. But we still have staff in there doing maintenance repairs. But we were able to repaint every hallway with colors chosen by Dr. Eschbach, not me. And she did a great job in helping us out to make sure that we kind of had a clean slate to work with, and it's been great to work with in regards to our improving the learning environment in that building. And like I say, it was neglected, and unfortunately so, and now I think we've made some great improvements, and we're not done yet. We're still working on that. In addition, district-wide, we have temporary workers that we hire in the summer for painting, and we try to touch every building. Obviously, we can't paint every square inch of our 1 million+ square feet, but at the same time, we're able to hit many of the schools, and our paint crew has done a good job overall. And then also, I'd be remiss if I didn't also mention our custodial staff over the course of the summer. They do a top to bottom cleaning and literally everything from the lights to the floor and the furniture that's on top of the floor. They do a great job, and certainly appreciate all the work they do. And also our grounds department with move orders, we did have a little bit of a challenge this summer. We exchanged places with the technology department and moved our offices to Danby. And with me goes the records. So we have we're able to put all our records in one spot now, and additionally our grounds department was able to move up there in technology to Hancock Street, and they participated in that and did a good job in assisting us. And lastly, I do want to mention that we have had the opportunity, I had the opportunity at the end of June to meet with a group of high school students to discuss their concerns with the bathrooms that you remember they brought up at a board meeting. It was a great meeting. We went through the list of improvements that they felt was necessary, and they as well as giving me direction as to what they feel is the A1 priority that they wanted to have accomplished this summer, and we're in the process of improving the bathrooms according to what the students feel is most important. I believe we've touched just about on everything.
Great. Sean?
I hadn't worried about this for a long time, but you mentioned it. I'm now beginning to re-worry about our ICSD archives, and at some point in time to think about a much more permanent and secure location for some of those things, given the age of the original 1878 Board of Education minutes and things of that nature.
Where we removed them, where they're at now, located in Danby, and I welcome you to come out, because they're in a climate-controlled room. We separated the historical archives from the, well, they're all historical to some degree, but the older original documents, we separated those and are in two separate areas with, like I say, where they're climate controlled. The other records we were able to, out at Danby, to separate them into two distinct areas where it could be personnel related in one area, and then business office type of things, and then student records. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. That was it's a big move for us, and towards improving our records retention.
Connor?
Will the high school gym floor be done by September 4th?
No. There has been some delays in the floor. It probably won't be available until if I had to guess, I would say the end of September, beginning of October. So it'll be great once it's done.
Go ahead, Chuck.
Yeah, that project's going to be worth the wait, because it's not just about the floor as well. There's some other cosmetic things taking place at the gym. We hope that will make the gym a brighter space. Some lighting, taking out the partition. So there's a little bit of, it's more than just the floor. The bleachers, right.
Bleachers, there's motors, I mean, there's a lot that has to happen through that space. We painted even the ceiling tiles. I mean, there's just a lot happening in that area. So unfortunately too, I think what put us off was also then that drainage issue that we really wanted to get addressed, because you don't want to put a brand new floor in and not correct the issue that caused one of the reasons, not just age, right, but that sort of caused the warping of that floor. So we wanted to address that as well, so that's what also set us back a bit.
Are we confident that we have the solution rather than a solution?
The cleanouts are removed, will be removed permanently from underneath the gym floor.
The standpipes that are...
Correct.
Right.
They'll be rerouted across the top of the gym and then into a separate roof leader that goes outside, and the clean out will be nowhere near the gym floor. The clean outs, I'm sorry.
And that's
there was three of them.
That's where the water's been coming back up, is
Right.
through the clean outs.
I saw, took a walk over there and saw water in those pipes under the floor.
Yeah.
Anyway, but there's a way to fix that.
Well, look at that.
Is that
Divert
our
up
fault or
above.
the architects or the builder's fault? It's our fault.
1960 construction.
It was designed to have the cleanouts under the wooden gym floor. I mean, with all due respect to my architect and engineering friends, I'm not sure why. But at the same time, Other cleanouts in the gym actually are in the wall, not under the floor. So it's just that section, and we had not have any issues. I mean, and it wasn't until just a couple of years ago that floor began to warp. So it's not an ongoing, hadn't been an ongoing problem because the floor had been level. What we did was we were able to go ahead and put, you know, to actually go through with the engineer. We had 3 days last week where we walked through all the pipes, so whether they be sanitary or whether they be roof leaders. And bottom line was, that was our focus. And there was other opportunities. We could dig the gym floor up and replace all the piping, which would be a relatively expensive and worse yet, timely thing. But at the same time, the solution we were looking for, and I believe it was the best solution, is just to remove those leaders from underneath that floor, the catch, you know, that they lead anywhere underneath there. So the cleanouts. So it's really no one's fault. The possibility exists that one of the pipes could be sagging underneath, but to go through that process, it's much easier just to remove.
To the point regarding the scope of the project, you know, we are finally, well, replacing floor that's, you know, 1960, 54 years old, but also those wooden partitions, mechanical partitions are gone. They will not be there. And it's really going to just a drop curtain when we need the separate teaching stations. There'll just be a curtain there. We don't need a mechanical door that weighs 3 or 4 ton or whatever.
There's a big partition at the top that wouldn't allow the light to go from one side to the other.
So that's
volleyballs or do whatever.
Or catch volleyballs.
the unique in-play partitions for volleyball.
That was in play.
Right? Yeah, it's like
Keep playing.
And
so it's gonna have a much different look. So we look forward to seeing it.
well, the partitions are there, the new backboards are up.
Right, exactly.
And even though we
The
had
curtain
the
walls are
delay,
there,
I
right.
should have mentioned that even though we had the delay, work will continue on the gym floor in an area away from the work that, the plumbing work that'll have to be done. So that way we can keep the momentum going on the project.
Exactly. I mean, you have the floor there ready to go. I mean, the floor is the floor is delivered, right? I mean, it's there.
Everything's there.
They're in pallets.
Yep.
It's not like we're waiting for product.
No, we're not. We're ready to go as soon as that work begins.
Exactly. Sounds great. Thanks, Paul.
Yep.
Anything else for Paul and Amanda? That's great. Great update. Thanks. We'll finish up with a few other items, and you all can stay for policy stuff, but
Or not,
or
as you wish.
or not. But we do have a few policies just to talk about.
If I can go over here, Rob?
Oh yeah, definitely.
So I move policy 0115 and 0115R, the regulation, student harassment and bullying prevention and intervention and regulation, for a second reading and adoption this evening.
Second?
In my pad, in your Dropbox, and
The quick word about this policy is a policy that we've already passed before. The issue was that it had the wrong number on it. It had 1115 as opposed to 0115, and 1115R as opposed to 0115R. There have been no changes beyond simply changing the number to reflect the accurate NISBA designation.
well, with that,
Man, we are
very,
detail oriented. Wow.
well, they
It's
have
all
to
about
have
policy.
Gotta have the right numbers. With that very succinct explanation, unless Judy Max has a question.
No, I do not.
Okay.
That's why it was on for just 2 minutes.
That's what it is. All in favor? That's everyone again for those policies and regs.
And the policy committee was asked to take a look at the possibility of a sponsorship policy. That there was a request made from a community partner with ICSD who received a corporate sponsorship and asked the question whether or not ICSD was in a position to acknowledge that sponsorship. We had a quick conversation in a full board meeting. It came back to the policy meeting. And my colleagues can jump at any point in time we're wrong. We thought that we could entertain a policy, and that's part of the conversation for today. But the real question for us, I think, was twofold. One was thinking that these situations should be individual, and any policy that we would write or think about would be on a case-by-case basis. That be the idea behind it. And equally as important was the possibility of asking the board if we wanted to consider a wall of acknowledgement, for lack of a better place, and we're thinking someplace in the Performing Arts Center, particularly in the outside lounge, that should there be an area designated that the board or the district could, at its choosing, choose to acknowledge its community partners, community sponsors, whatever the case may be. But we thought if we have a wall of fame for athletes, so to speak, then why wouldn't we have a wall of fame for some of our community partners? And that was just the idea we had. Didn't know how the board would respond to that. No immediate hurry. It's not even up for vote. It's just up for discussion to see how we want to proceed. Did I miss anything, Pat and Judy?
I think that's good. I think, yeah.
What would be an example of a sponsorship?
IPEI.
Sure.
I keep going. What's
Running to places, yeah, you name it. The Go tutoring, right? That there's a number of community partners who do work with us, and should we have some sort of space to either display things, to acknowledge folks, whatever the case may be, or the other
So
idea.
this is recognition,
In some regards.
or what else?
I'm not, Jay, this isn't my issue. I'm raising it. I don't have a stake in the game.
Did we have a specific request?
We did have
brought this
specific
about?
requests.
Is it like the code robotics team wants to be the XYZ widget company robotics team?
I don't think we were thinking like, we start letting Pepsi do our scoreboard, that may happen, they come back to us again. I think more the idea would be, the specific request came that one of our community partners got a sizable corporate donation, and should there be some sort of acknowledgement. That's where all this stems from. Beyond that, we hadn't really thought about what that would look like, or what the procedure would be, or.
Yeah, I think one issue would be, are we acknowledging monetary contributions to the district by some of our community partners, or acknowledging strong partnerships? And those would be two different approaches. I mean, IPEI contributes a great many financial resources to us. Running to places that it's contributing cultural resources. This particular grant brought in $50,000?
That was $10,000.
Or $10,000.
No, $25,000.
I can't remember. And, are we going to have something like a naming opportunity hierarchy the way they do it in other places?
That's kind of where this leads. I mean, so the Target Foundation gives you $300 this year. Are we going to have the Target Foundation listed as a sponsor for the rest of eternity? Or are you going to put their name up for this year and take it down? I mean, that sort of question.
And the law seems to be pretty unclear about possibilities. If you look at other districts across the state have without question have a wall of donors and sponsors that seems to be perfectly legal for them to acknowledge folks who have made financial contributions. Other communities have set up a place that, similar to what Brad said, it's much more on a moving rotation, so 3 months or 3 weeks or whatever the case may be, but there's nothing permanent. It's just sort of an acknowledgement, hey, thank you very much for making this happen.
So it's placed in a public place, it stays for a period of time, and then
Yep, they just sort of
take it down and just start over again.
Yep, meant to be ephemeral in that regard, right? And I don't think when we had the idea, I don't think anyone on the policy committee thought one way or the other. We thought it was a decision that we could obviously make as a policy committee. It's a conversation for a full board, and given some of the things we may be doing in the future, it was worth the conversation to think about if we wanted some sort of space or some sort of possibility, or to do some more research about what it could look like, or whatever the case may be.
Connor had.
I've seen such a thing at things like art museums
Sure.
and so forth, and it looks attractive and it can work. Oftentimes, collection of these things have a historical basis. How far would you go back as far as tracking and commemorating?
Tomorrow,
Yeah,
I go forward.
Yeah.
There would be no
Yeah.
going back.
All right, and what are is there a minimum amount that you would recognize?
No, it's not even about money, I don't think. I think that's the part we're trying to say, that it's just about sort of partnering. There's many ways in which organizations in this community give of their talents and wisdom to this district as well. And so I don't think we had any particular vision of what it could look like, just putting it out there if that's something we should start considering and thinking about. One, as a way to acknowledge our community sponsors and to be good stewards. And also, some folks deserve recognition. There's people out there who are working tirelessly for little to no money, but still do amazing work for us. So that was sort of the idea behind it. And I think we were all a little bit uneasy about the corporate sponsorship and acknowledging that. And that's partly why we said, well, maybe rather than try to just do a plaque someplace for one thing, wouldn't we think about a space that would allow us to be much more open and flexible to acknowledge folks?
What if we used, like
Sure.
the movable board and just did it. We'd like to thank so-and-so. Who puts it up?
Which one?
Electronic?
The electronic
The one here or the one out? Yeah, the electronic one
The
here or the one.
I mean, like
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
running on a flat screen.
That's,
right,
I mean, that's run out of the principal's office, the one out in the
Okay.
street.
For the high school
The
specifically.
high school,
Yeah.
yeah.
Connor, did you speak in?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Jay, go ahead.
So I think recognition is great and wonderful, but having said that, this is problematic. There's and I think, so you've got to think carefully about how you do this. And I can give you another problem example, or example of a problem, is that sometimes the donations made out at an elementary school, and in particular, a lot of fundraisers were done for some, and could be done in the future for playgrounds. And so people are donating and giving specific, they're giving a tree, they're giving gravel materials. And so then now you're gonna say, oh, we're gonna put this information on a board down in Culp or somewhere, or the activity. You go, well, I'm not sure that's the best recognition for something that might have been tied to an elementary school, or tied to a school, whatever school it might be. So sometimes that's, it's better than nothing, but that's somewhat of a problem. And even, I know in Caroline, there's a fraternity that's very involved with an after-school program. So that maybe you might want to recognize them, what's very Caroline specific. So anyway, this is another example. Sometimes it's a very individual school-focused donation, and then you're going to recognize them in a totally different place, or I don't know, you're going to roll it through. You could put it on our website, you could put it
Right, that's part of a
in some sort
district-wide
of
policy.
publicity,
Right.
maybe at the commendation things that we do. I don't know. I don't have an answer, but there was just some other issues.
And I would just say it's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, right. I get you.
What, you mean the board?
No, yeah, because like, well, here's what you're gonna do. Like, no, it's not what I'm gonna do. It's what
Collective.
Right. What
Oh,
we.
is that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Your
I'm
district.
sorry. I should have said that. Yes, I was distancing myself, wasn't I?
That was a smart move.
You caught me on that, huh?
You guys are nuts, but whatever you want to do. Corporations always get a bad rap, but anyway. Any other thoughts, Judy?
Well, since this has been asked of us, I definitely think we have to have a response. I don't know.
Lots of things are asked of us, Judy.
No, but this was such a specific,
Well, I think the idea is we don't want to be very specific
no.
here.
So what are we going, then we need a policy that says, in general.
You're not going to be
we do-
specific.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know the policy stuff. It's great.
I'm not sure that we actually need a policy on this one. I think I'm actually trying to avoid that as much as possible.
Yeah.
But doesn't mean we couldn't entertain one. Or the idea is, look, it's a good conversation piece. We'll keep it in mind. If it comes back up, we need to revisit it. We'll revisit it. If there's any particular direction or suggestion which wants to look at, we'll be happy to do that. I'm just raising the issue as
Go ahead, Chris.
Stay away from it.
Well, the other thing we
There's
could
so
do
many
is send
layers
a
to
letter.
it. It's just, stay away from it.
I think in terms of the corporate sponsorship, the policy committee was very uneasy about that, and probably was very clear about no, we didn't think that was gonna. I don't want to speak for my other two folks. I was uneasy about it. Let me use I statements, and that was not going to work for me. That's why we're trying to think about some other ideas.
It's, to Chris's point, it's this is the ICSD and educating the children in the community. It's a public enterprise. It's like the community is involved, and and we're all volunteers, and so some are going to be acknowledged for making a contribution of time / effort. I mean, it's so why some and not all? I mean, really, it's if you're giving something with the hopes that you're going to be acknowledged for it, then you should probably rethink why you're giving of your time and money. I mean, that's my only. That's not why we do what we do. It's not why IPI does what IPI does. I mean, am I making a point?
And they do acknowledgments for for their donors.
Yeah, exactly.
And remember, making a donation directly to the school district is not tax deductible.
Right,
In this warped tax world.
So if I'm taking a quick pulse of the board, that this is, we've had a nice conversation about it, let's keep it moving. Not the idea moving, let's move on from it.
Yep.
Fantastic, I think we have our answer.
All right, good.
Great.
Any other business? Matt, did anything come up in the last hour that you need to share with us?
No fire alarms.
Those were earlier.
That's a good thing.
In the last hour, yeah.
Exactly. Anything else by anyone?
Just to mention, there's a policy committee meeting this Thursday at 8:30 a.m.
Wow.
Looking forward to seeing you, Judy.
I don't know if I'm gonna make it.
Yeah. Looking forward to seeing you.
Judy, it's 8:30.
And 8:30 is fine, it's my sister that has to get to the airplane.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna be here at 5.
AM. And there will be a finance committee meeting prior to the next board meeting.
On the 25th. And we will have a board meeting on the 26th, correct?
Yes.
Right. Curriculum is before the, well, at 4:30, before the, I guess there's going to be a curriculum meeting?
Yes.
To me? Okay,
Yes.
that'll be before exec session and before the board meeting. A lot of work by the curriculum committee folks that day, so we appreciate that. Anything else? We're without objection, I think we're adjourned. Great job, Matt. Thank you. A great job for the team.
Thank you again.